Olá, seja bem-vindo e bem-vinda a mais um episódio do Diálogos Atópicos. Meu nome é Matheus Soares, eu sou estudante do programa de pós-graduação em Ciências da Comunicação pela ECA-USP e pesquisador do ATÓPICOS. E no programa de hoje, nós vamos conversar com o professor Derick de Kerckhove, da Universidade de Toronto, sobre as mensagens que essa pandemia de Covid-19 pode trazer para a humanidade, bem como o papel das tecnologias no que ele chama de transformação digital do nosso cotidiano e das dinâmicas políticas tradicionais.
So, we're now in a lockdown situation. It never has happened in the world before. Some countries have been in it for 3 months. In Italy, it's been 2 months. And we're still trying to get used to it because it's so new. And we tend to have different views. Some people are devastated by the prison they think they have around themselves in their own house. Others, on the other hand, suddenly realize it's the time to start thinking about things a little bit seriously. In fact, there are 3 things that could be considered positive that are coming out of the lockdown because of coronavirus. The first one is the possibility to stop for a while, really, think, rethink, reflect, think about ourselves, think about the country, think about, the future. Do we have one? That's pretty important. It's important to be able to stop in your life and start thinking. It's also very important to observe that having stopped all traffic, the environment has suddenly shown signs not only of improvement, but that it can actually improve much more. And that's something to take account of. And then the third thing that I find very important that perhaps is not clear to most people is that it has made us aware of globality in a way very different from multinationals, globalism, all the stuff that people are, correct in raging about. But globalization is not a matter of business. It's a matter of psychology. It's a matter of how you actually conceive of the world and of your own place in the world. So that's a blessing to have a chance to do that at a very large scale. We are global citizens, and that is absolutely key. And I would say that may be actually the message of coronavirus. What's the message of coronavirus? It's just a very bad message. It kills people. It makes them afraid of each other. It forces us to stay at home, all these things. But it has this message that we are really global. And that will never change. That's irreversible. So the other thing which is interesting is that climate change and COVID-19 seem to work in parallel. And in fact, both deal with vaccination. The difference is we're looking for a vaccine to provoke a defense response from our body to the virus, but the virus itself is the vaccine to the social body about paying attention to the environment. That's what it is. Coronavirus is a bad thing, a real damage to society and to individuals. And of course to the economy. Well, that's the least of all the problems. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's not the least of the problems, but it's certainly not as important as the climate change, and that is something people should know. But it's the damage that actually offset the greater danger. Until now, until we were stopped in our tracks, we were rushing to die. rushing to actually a slow death, painful death of climate change. Okay, might have taken 20 years, might have taken 40, but it was taking that time. We were actually really going there. So what we can expect from coronavirus as a stimulus for vaccination is to get the silly governments, and God knows we have silly governments, of this human presence in the world to soften the impact of our economy. The way we have dealt with all the warnings that have been given to us over and over again since the late 60s. There were marches to save the environment. There were books written about it. And nobody paid more attention then than they do now. And nobody is paying more attention now than they did then. As if it really wasn't happening, but it is happening. So something, that could make us more human to suddenly pay, if we actually treated the environment and the whole of life on Earth. Don't kill the next bug, let it live. It's a miracle. Okay, I'm not a Jain, which is a religion in India that actually, treats life with great respect. And I would be if I was in India. I think life needs great respect. But what I'm trying to say is that the capitalism sort of worked. It went along with democracy. It did generate wealth and it did generate innovation and it did also good things, but its excesses are destroying the planet. I'm not going to be anti-capitalist. I'm not going to be communist. None of that. Or socialist. No ideology, simply that when capitalism is pushed to its extreme, which is what's happening and has happened now, that's when it becomes really dangerous. And it is exactly that we have to stop. Now, the other big message that comes out of, not directly, but comes out of the lockdown that is caused by coronavirus, is that it's a moment of acceleration of what people call the digital transformation, forgetting that the digital transformation doesn't just affect business. It affects you and me. It affects all of us. We are being digitally transformed the way during the Renaissance we were being alphabetically transformed. And that created a terrible mess for 200 years. So it's not surprising that we're in a mess right now. And this is the king. We are now, because we are forced to spend more time in front of a screen than in the face-to-face real life. Okay, I'm exaggerating. We're still probably spending more time, at least in bed. But we are spending much more time in front of a screen. We are being much more transformed unconsciously by this use of the screen and this sharing of our information with people and this dependence on what's happening. For example, right now, I'm talking to you, right? So the digital transformation, you have to understand, is not something that just happened. Just as it's not something that only concerns an issue of management, how to transform the system, how to help public administration, forget all that. It is something that is deeply setting itself inside us, and it does this since the invention of the first computer. But then, people didn't pay attention to that possibility because, big computers cost a huge amount of money. And in fact, at the beginning, they were not producing anything very exciting. Things began to really change when everybody got their own personal computer. That's when people really began to be transformed. And this has gone on and on and on. When the PC, the private computer came on the market. From that moment, we began to delegate our cognitive strategies to this screen that's in front of me. I mean, memory. We have delegated our memory. We just put everything. You remember the phone number of your husband, your wife, your friend? No, of course not. It's in your cell phone. Well, everything else is in your cell phone. So that's a real problem. We also delegate to our cell phone and to Alexa, and to Digital Assistant, and to Cortana, and Bixby. We delegate our decision-making. We delegate our judgment. So it's not surprising that as they have evolved further in providing us with a planetary memory, think Wikipedia, think Google, think everything that goes on there. It's amazing the stuff we have. It also proceeds then, this happened since Wikipedia, since Google, but then after, it went much further than that. It proceeded to use algorithms to make decisions for us, to make judgment, verdicts, sentences, diagnostics, planning, managing, all of these things, because they are much wiser than the best of us put together. They know much more. They have access to analysis in a way that no big head can possibly hope for. So that's something that, well, it's hard to say whether it's positive, negative. It's always very difficult to just make a decision about these sort of things in terms, while you are just in it. We're like the fish in water, and so the fish knows nothing about water. We're in the digital world, and we don't realize how much it is in us as well. So that's a problem. It's that the digital transformation is affecting politics as well. Now, we can say that we know that, yeah, right, Cambridge Analytica has actually allowed us to have the mess with the United States and the mess with the United Kingdom, and all the things that's united is being disunited by, Cambridge Analytica. Well, yes, that was one thing. But the point is, the real maturation of the digital transformation is not just there. It's, for example, in China. You heard about social credits. Social credits are a form of valuation of each citizen, valuation and judgment and execution of the penalty for any citizen in China that is crossing a red light instead of waiting for it to become green. Example, small, with cameras everywhere. Total surveillance, total cognition, valuation, automated, yes, but all of this is enforced by real people. So the automation of surveillance, valuation, verdict, punishment is a form of high-level maturation of the digital transformation at the political level. Oh, but it's never going to happen with us. We don't accept this sort of thing. We're not even close. We're not even close. Well, you must be kidding. We're very close. Maybe not in Brazil, but certainly in the United States, certainly in Canada, certainly in Italy, certainly everywhere else we're very close. Why? Because everybody business knows everything they need to know about us. So that's a form of surveillance. Okay, it's a soft surveillance. It's not as hard. The judgment's there, but it's in the background. But the point is, it's natural for the digital transformation to know everything about us. We acquired, during 200 years of religious wars in the Renaissance, we acquired at the cost of our blood the possibility of closing in on ourselves and having our own ideas and not having to share them with the government, with the religious order. We were masters of our own destinies. That was the gift of alphabetization, the appropriation of language, the reflection, the silence of language, and thinking. But now we can still think. We can still use language. We can still think that we are possessors of language. But no, the state is. Your intellectual consciousness, your privacy as a person is now being co-opted by governments and business. And it is in a way that is softer and it takes longer than the Chinese way. But if you think you can escape surveillance, think again. Under governments, and particularly the one that you have now, surveillance is going to come way faster than anywhere else. So good luck and good night.